Namaste, Galactic family. Welcome back to my channel, IndigoAngel. Come on into this dimension, guys. As today, I am going to be doing an energy update for the 666 gateway. So June 6, 2022, the 2022 breaks down into a 6. So 666 portal and gateway. There's so much going on right now, so much integration into the grids right now of higher photonic, gamma, blast, ultra, supernova light potential that is just blasting the grids right now and blasting it very, very hard. I read some things this morning that we were having some solar flare activity, some coronal mass ejections, just a lot of solar activities. So it's really, really a powerful time. We're still really riding off of the 2-2 February 2nd, 2022 energy, and the 666 gateway is just kind of an extenuation off of that energetic gamma blast that we're continuing to receive ultimately from the Cygnus system, right? We're starting to come into the time into July 2022, which is where it's really prophesized that we're supposed to be getting more integration of that gamma radiation from the Cygnus supernova blast wave that's coming to Earth. And also, there's also supposed to be a supernova event that is supposed to take place in the Cygnus system as well. So another merging and explosion of stars that's going to take place in the Cygnus system that has been predicted to, again, happen in July 2022. So much solar, nuclear, gamma, radio activity, celestial diversity that's impacting the grids right now. So because of all of this extra energy, all of this extra light integration, we are really having a lot of people awaken at this time. So we're having new waves of awakening that are coming in. So we're receiving new members that are joining our 500 million strong indigo tribe. And you guys know I have been quoting that 500 million off of the capstone of Georgia Guidestones, because that's how I've kind of interpreted the amount of indigos that we have here on the earth, is that 500 million. So we're getting another wave, and we're going to be welcoming a lot of new members with those open arms, with that compassionate guiding light, because those that are awakening at this time are really going to need that from us who are sitting on the other side of the veil, so to speak, kind of like as if we're sitting on the other side of the river and we're just like reaching out to like grab the boat, like, come on over, it's better on this side, you know, like it's not about establishing that separation or that division between sides, but it is a lot about overcoming the narcissistic templating, which is what is really beginning to dissolve as we go through this 666 gateway, right? So as we go through this gateway, the waves that are coming in are really coming in through indigo type 2s and indigo type 3s, that they're going to be expanding more into their templating, more into integrating atomic gamma radiation. The indigo type 2s are working to regenerate, and they are working to activate higher human DNA templates. So really going beyond the 10th to the 12th, which is having that full heart consciousness expansion, but starting to have that conscious awareness that they're anchoring from the 11th and the 12th dimensional field. They're also, the indigo type 2s are also working to resolve traumas from karmic patterning, and that karmic patterning within their incarnation and evolutionary cycles. So a lot of ancestral and generational clearing, a lot of past life clearing, a lot of identifying that to what is going on internally right now in their present realities, and making those extensional awarenesses that allow the space to clear that karmic patterning. Indigo type 3s, these are the ones that are polarity navigators. So they're really trying to make sense of and balance universal laws, laws of cause and effect, laws of gender, laws of light versus dark, things like this. So these groups of indigos that are awakening right now have a very challenging mission and incarnation here. And so we really need to honor these processes of these beloved ones, because they really do have a big task through their awakening at this time. So I just had to come in from outside. So sorry, guys, I'm a little bit I guess short of breath and a little bit hot and sweaty and sticky, because for one, I'm down in the south, but for two, it's really warm outside. And I was out there trying to film. I wanted to film outside. My gosh, it's such a beautiful day. But as soon as I sit down out there, there is a guy mowing and chopping, and it's happening on both sides of the fence. So I am like, okay, too much interference for this video today. But I'm so glad you guys could join me. Like I said, be sure to subscribe, hit that notifications bell, comment, and share this video, as I have so much to dive in with you right now. This might be a long one. You know how I am, you guys. I can go pretty extensively in my videos. It's only because there's so much coming through this gateway at this time. So I'm going to kind of go over this heart consciousness awakening that we're truly experiencing at this time. Truly, truly, truly. I say this because I have seen quite a few people in the last week that are presenting with major, massive awakening for the very first time. And so I think it's kind of important to recognize that, especially if you're somebody who's new and has just found my channel. I kind of want to go through what it's like having that first time awakening and how we can better work through those energies. I also want to recap on the Atlantean timelines from the previous video that I did with Mark Atwood, just because I was a little all over the place with that. And I spent some time last night really going through the 3 phases of the Atlantean cataclysms. And I wanted to be able to define that more with you guys, and also define what is so important about those crystal caverns as well. Because we talk about the artificial crystal caverns versus the organic crystal caverns and what has been done, the hijacking, the manipulation, how that manipulation and crystal technology is still in use, still in power, has still evolved to this day and is active in this timeline. But why is it so important for us to understand what those organic caverns are about, and why it's so important to link energetic systems back into those crystal caverns? So I want to talk about that with you guys today as well. So like I said, a lot to go over. I am going to try to wrap it up here in hopefully under an hour. I do have to go pick my daughters up from volleyball because they're doing volleyball and it's so much fun. I absolutely love taking them to do this. It just like warms my heart so much to see them playing and getting in action. I know you guys probably seen from my previous video, I have a volleyball net up in the backyard. So my girls really, really like to play. And so I'm going to try to wrap this up so I can go get the girls. But having that said, right now at this time, what we're seeing through the 666 gateway, which is, there's so much more meaning to this, what this means. I came across some things this morning that I thought were pretty powerful when it comes to the meaning of this gateway in specific. The 666, it's talking about the 6 is the frequency of initiation. So dying of the old to move into the potential new creative spiral. So it's about potential. It's about probabilities. It's about prophecy. It is about new seeds of life, renewal, rehabilitation. And it's about the promise of a new spiral of consciousness, the promise of a new wave of integration. And again, that's why I feel like this gateway is so open to new heart consciousness expansion and those new waves of indigos type 2s and type 3s that are really activating at this time. Indigo type 1s, yes, you're also going through expansion of consciousness as well. We're receiving a lot more data seed packages. We're seeing a lot more networks of information and how those passageways are opening up. We're also getting a lot of new sacred keys to particular locations and grids in the earth that are holding sacred knowledge, sacred books. We're receiving technologies on how to dismantle old systems, particularly like special particular things that have to be done to dismantle old, unserving, degrading control systems, black magic, black grid systems. Okay, so indigo type 1s, we're just getting a thrust of energy. But the indigos type 2s and type 3s that are actually coming online for the first time, they're having massive heart consciousness expansion. And this process does not usually come easy. This is a major cleansing, a major clearing, a major purification process that each one that is going through this process, it's very, very painful. One must come to understand what is happening, and that is you are stripping everything, okay? Stripping everything that has ever pained you or done you wrong in this life, anything that has basically disagreed with your soul, okay? You're stripping all of that from within, and you're cleansing and clearing those hooks. You're cleansing and clearing the parasites. You're cleansing and clearing the entities, the incubuses, the succubuses, okay, and the narcissistic templating, whether that is a part of you that you're clearing or whether that is a tentacle that has come in and latched itself inside of you. Okay, so the process of purification is really expanding in your heart so much that those things are getting purged out of the energy field. They're getting purged out of you on a cellular level. They're getting purged out of you on a quantum level, in your organs, okay, in your auric field, your etheric, your causal, your astral field, your eternal and immortal connections as well, into your monadic structures. It's huge in the monadic field. This is major, major 10th dimensional release. Okay, and so when this is happening, it's a very distressful time for one experiencing this expansion. Anxiety levels can often be extremely increased because the electrical energy in the body, it is very, very high. Okay, so it makes it a lot harder to ground. It can be a feeling of just being extremely ungrounded. Having racing thoughts, really being all over the place, so to speak, crying, having the need to cry several times a day throughout the day, because the heart is essentially on fire. That's how it expands. Okay, and so we're getting waves and waves of this as the intensity in the earth plane rises and gets higher and is rushing and integrating and expanding in that photonic light. Okay, and so everything that you once knew within you is basically being cleared out. And so I want to just remind those of you who are awakening for the first time, even though that's not the majority, I think, of who watches my channel, it is a lot of advanced spiritual beings that watch my channel, that keep up on the intel. But I just wanted to take it back to this because this is happening right now. I've had a lot, like I said, I've had a lot of people reach out to me that are in these phases. And so I just want to remind those of us, like I said, that are sitting on that other side of the veil, that have the knowledge, that have the spiritual compassion and capacity to guide and assist others, to just hold an open heart to these people, and remind them to ground their energy. Remind them to be taking extra magnesium as well. Magnesium is really, really important because it helps ground that high electrical state of being, and it really helps alleviate the racing thoughts, the anxiety. It's really good to be focusing on grounding multiple times a day when you're in this state, when you're in this part of ascension, this heart consciousness expansion. But it's also really good to be focusing on releasing the attachments, doing cord cutting rituals, and as much entity extraction as possible. Deep universal tree of life clearings. Also increase your meditation and toning as well. Toning has been one of those things that has really worked for me. As you are directing through your voice, through your frequency, your energy into certain spaces in the body that allow you to clear from the inside out through subtle waves of vibration. And this is a really good way to work through intense heart consciousness expansion. And so also to remember to honor your process. Give yourself acceptance, compassion, understanding for your state of being. If you feel like you are a mess, okay, just know that that is okay. If you feel pressure to know something, be something, do something, understand what your mission is, all of this is kind of like feels maybe outside of you, that's okay. Just let it be. Take your time with this process. Be gentle. Have patience with yourself. That's probably the most important thing that I can tell you right now. Do not go out and self-destruct. Do not go out and self-harm. Do not try to mask the painful feelings with substances. It will just make you feel a lot worse in the long run. And do your best to stay committed to your alignment. Keep bringing yourself back into the center point. Keep grounding yourself into the 0 point field. That's just a piece of advice. Because I have a lot of compassion for those that are going through heart consciousness expansion right now. Like I said, because it's not an easy process. And it's one thing to wake up to the truther world. It's one thing to wake up to corruption, lies, manipulation, beast machines, the cabal, all of the BS, and start to have those veils stripped from you. But it's another thing when your entire soul descends into your body and heart consciousness expands and opens completely. And it just changes every part of who you are. Everything you thought you knew about yourself is changing from within. It's not a race. It's not a comparison. Nobody's really at a higher level. Once heart consciousness expands in the field, one is 12th dimensionally activated. Okay, because it is a DNA activation. It is in your blood. Your blood becomes illuminated. Your blood becomes activated, and it can honestly feel that you are glowing from within. You feel that your blood is inflamed, and that inflammation takes you into 12D integration, hence the racing thoughts, because you are bringing so much down from the higher dimensional fields at a level and a rate that is much faster than your consciousness is able or used to integrating knowledge or wisdom or gnosis. And so it can be a time of feeling sick. It can be a time of needing to sleep a lot and integrate that. And so that's where a lot of people really are. This gateway is very powerful. And it's so powerful that it's not only bringing in new waves of awakening, but it's also clearing deeper into the narcissist templating. Okay, and yes, I have to go here today with you guys because I'm seeing this really come up a lot. And this has everything to do with what Maldek brought to the earth. Okay. If anyone is familiar with Maldek, Maldek was a part of 5D Terra. So 5D Terra exploded, and 5D Terra was a sister parallel higher dimensional Earth, star, sun, okay? And the implosion of Tara created a reversal black wormhole system, essentially. This then went on to create and carry the blueprint for all of the 12 planets that are in our field. So this would be Mercury, Venus, Earth, Maldek, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Nibiru, and our solar sun. And so Maldek was a remnant from 5D Earth Terra, but also a remnant from Tiamat. So Tiamat represented the 5th dimensional Earth parallel body, and Maldek represented the 3rd dimensional version of that. Well, Maldek and Mars were very one and the same. It is even said that the beings from Maldek transferred knowledge, information, and parts of their civilizational history and wisdom to Mars as well. Maldek carried the blueprints for Atlantis, essentially. Okay, and the beings on Maldek were a very service to self type energy, type intelligence field, okay? And the beings that existed there were very service to self. The beings that existed there carried this narcissistic templating, okay? Narcissistic templating, which I'm going to go through what it is to be narcissistic in just a second. But it basically means lack of empathy, okay? Lack of compassion, lack of understanding or care for others. It is about building self-frame and existing from within that frame solely. What serves that frame only, okay? And so this is important because this is a part of the Atlantean history. The narcissistic templating, which comes from the reptilian bloodlines, it comes from many, many races that I'm going to get into. They essentially carried that templating. That's what seeded into Atlantis was narcissism. Okay, I know it's difficult to talk about narcissism in this way because we want to give compassions for all state of the mental bodies and mental planes that exist here on this earth as an empath or as an evolved empath, because there is negative qualities to being an unhealed empath as well. Okay, but it's the toxic narcissistic templating that descended from Maldek and came to this earth. So as we go through this 666 gateway, okay, that's the waves of this awakening, and the more light that penetrates the grid, it's pushing out and obliterating darkness, shadow, and behavior mentalities such as narcissistic templating that have been developed through that Maldek explosion. Okay, and Maldek was essentially imploded from a nuclear warfare. And when Maldek imploded, it essentially released souls from Maldek into different etheric planes according to the perfect law of karma. Okay, according to laws in our universal system that allowed this to happen. And at that time, the earth agreed to accept these souls with thousands of years of this limitation, okay, this service to self limitation, this narcissistic mental body that they traveled in and through and exist within. And these mental bodies and these lineages that came from Maldek came in on strict reincarnation. As lesser forms, as these digressive lines, as these reptilian bloodlines, as considered as Leviathan races or sons of Belial, okay, satanic and Luciferian races. They came here so that way they could gain experience here, okay? And so because of being so foreign to this earth and the original organic earth body, which is the true Lemurian soul, which is the true Anangu people, the true Pleiadians, they essentially, because they're foreign, they come into this earthly plane feeling homeless, and also carrying almost like an anger, okay, a disassociation and anger and anguish to those that are organic to this system. Okay, they carry a lack of understanding, okay, that is separated by the destruction and the implosion and nuclear warfare, okay, and war planets, service to self planets. So it was these race lineages from Maldek that came in and actually infiltrated at the time of the Lemurian Holocaust. The Lemurian Holocaust was the first cataclysm in Atlantis. And these souls, these seedings, represented the original seeds of betrayal. And this is what ultimately took over and was the ultimate detrimental geological upheaval of the Atlantean cataclysm in the third seeding, which led to the ultimate development and movement of the Luciferian rebellion. And so, yeah, like I said, the Lemurians were the original soul body. They were the original earth human. And so this is why when I do a lot of regression with people, okay, in my deep chakra clearings, be sure to go to my website, IndigoAngel222.com. Book yourself a deep chakra clearing, okay? We regress into these timelines. And so many people hold so much distress, so much anguish, so much anxiety, so much tension, simply just by regressing into the energetic templating of Atlantis, okay? Then when we regress even further into Lemuria, it's a sense of peace, calming, a sense of relief, a sense of groundedness, a sense of nurturing, freedom, all of these things. It's because they are hybridized between these systems, between these race lines, and they're fighting this battle within their own DNA. They're fighting this battle within their own genetics, lineage, history, okay? There's a part of them that is anchored into that original Lemurian soul body, the original earth human, and there's a part of them that feels responsible for what happened in Atlantis. And there's a weight that they carry in their field. That's what we're healing right now. That's what is being released right now. That is what is being cleared through majorly this gateway. Okay, this gateway is clearing deeper into those hybridization traumas from the third cataclysmic seeding. But for many of us that have the memory, ultimately the first Lemurian Holocaust. So again, it wasn't until Maldek exploded and those entities came to Earth and the transition on this planet Earth began. And this was around 500,000 years ago that this mental body complex was available. The narcissistic mental body complex that was in that service to self that came and seeded with the reptilians, with the digressive reptilians, okay, with the Dracos, with the facets of the Anunnaki. So Maldek assisted in seeding all of these reptilian dragon races today. And it also imprinted into Earth the planetary core wounding traumas that we experience here as humans, the narcissistic wounds. Okay, the narcissistic injuries, illnesses, and manifestations here. The beings from Maldek also installed a black wormhole system here between the Earth and the Moon that runs to the dark side of the Moon. Okay, this is a wormhole that is a part of deep distortions that are running the dark father and the dark mother principles. Okay, so there is a lot of confusion in this, and it's very, very hard to watch people work through this gender misery, these gender universal principles and distortions of these toxic feminine and toxic masculine templates, okay? It is because of this wormhole between the Earth and the Moon that if one can just dissolve that within, it's going to dissolve those distortions, okay? So that's a part of the issue here. But also what was installed through that, right before that black hole, is they installed something called reflective technology, which functions as looking glass technology. And it's interesting, this looking glass technology has been coming up for months and months and months. I've just been looking at it and just waiting to talk about it. But it is essentially where they encode symbol codes of their choosing between the Earth and the Moon. So they're placing Metatronic symbol codes, they're placing flower, old paradigms of the old flower of life rigid structure geometries, not the Sophianic flowering of the true flower of life. They're placing these symbol codes to essentially target human subconsciousness. Okay, and it's a way for them to turn off the switches that would run the ascension biological processes here. Okay, and so what this has ultimately been about is about mind control. This is a quality of this narcissistic templating. Narcissistic templating is about control. They want to control and manipulate the negative ego collective by altering the perception of 3D reality, okay, and inflaming it. Okay, so the control panel to the narcissistic templating is in the wormhole between the Earth and the Moon. And this is what will continue to be dissolved and dismantled as we integrate more light into the grids. It starts by a process of dissolving the wormhole systems that are here in the grids now. The 666 wormhole, the triangulation systems, all of the cosmic chaos and conflict is in the triangulation wormhole systems. The 666 wormhole, the Tower of Babel wormhole, okay, and the wormholes and Azores, Portugal. Okay, I might not be saying that right because last time I said Azores, Spain. So I apologize if I didn't get that right last time. And also everybody was giving me so much stuff for drinking at Starbucks. Like, I get it, you guys. Like, I understand that Starbucks is toxic. But I mean, I really did choose one of the lesser of evils on the menu. I just simply had a medicine ball. I had medicine ball tea, which I don't know if they put any carcinogens in their teas, but it feels clean when I drink it. I can usually actually taste it and tell when I've had a coffee or even had a chai that those drinks in specific are definitely infiltrated with carcinogens. But you guys have to remember, like, I am a single mom. I live a lot on the go and on the fly, and it's not an excuse, but I mean, my kids sometimes do ask me to get Starbucks. My kids are very much 1 foot in and 1 foot out the door when it comes to their consciousness. Their father is a very 3D reptilian human being. I am a victim of those forced breeding programs. I came in with forced breeding tags in my astral body. I incarnated that way. And so my children are very much hybridized in that sense. Okay, so we have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And so I know those of you who are parents, also other divine feminines that have been ran through the forced breeding programs, and just anybody in general who's living as a part of this world, that it's not always easy, right? It's like not always easy to be so self-controlled and making everything organically from home. So I do have some areas of myself that I have to work on. So just know that I present to you today fully transparent in that and authentic in that. And so maybe not be so harsh next time when you guys are coming down on me about things like that, because I think we're all really 1 foot in and 1 foot out right now. You know, we're all battling the abuse of the crystal technology. We're all battling the abuse of humanity. We're all battling the harvesting stations of our light body fields and our programming, societal and generational programming, processional programming, which is astounding. Okay, so yeah, just had to say that to you guys, because some people can be kind of harsh in the comments. Everybody's usually extremely supportive and loving. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for that, because it really means so much to me that you guys bring stuff to my attention. You guys bring things to me that I didn't know and guide me to other things. Speaking of that, I'm going to get back into this, but I wanted to touch bases on the stuff, some really good information that you guys brought to me from the last video in the comments. And this was about the swan grid templating. And people were bringing to my attention about Queen Elizabeth and how technically she owns all of the unclaimed swans in the UK. And there's something that they do. It's a ritual ceremony that they do once a year, every single year, by the 3rd week of July. Now, what are the odds that this ritual ceremony comes around at the 3rd week of July, when this prophecy of this Gamma Cygnus supernova blast is supposed to be integrating the Earth field by July 2022? And here we have this Queen of England swan upping ritual where they basically round up all of the swans on the Thames River, and they, you know, catch and release them. They're supposedly checking them for health and conservation reasons and all of these things. But I kind of looked more into that, and according to a lot of ancient Egyptian mythology, the swan actually represents the soul and the spirit and flight through death and birth cycles. So I think there's a lot more to this swan upping and this desire to own all of the swans. And I'll just make it clear, she doesn't just own all of the swans. She owns the dolphins. She owns the corgis. She owns, which is really interesting, right? Like, why do you feel so entitled that you own all of the dolphins in the sea? So it's really, you know, I think there's a lot with that as well if we look deeper into the energy and the symbology of it. But essentially, the kings and the priest pharaohs of ancient Egypt believed that the soul and the afterlife, and they built all of their tombs to face the north. They built all of their tombs to face Cygnus. And so they believed that when you die, that the soul travels and leaves to Cygnus, and that the soul is either going from south to north or north to south, and going from the crux system, right? This belief actually came from the motherlands of Mu. This belief actually came from the true original earth angelic body template. Okay, so this isn't something that is just whatever. This is like innately a part of every one of us who were part of these cultures, these civilizations, through our eternal and immortal Akashic field here. So essentially, I think there's a lot of symbology in what is being oppressed, what is being suppressed by the monarchy, by the reptilian, by the hierarchical white dragon, Draco reptilian factions, that I think they're trying to, I think that this swan upping ritual is very defining this need to want to capture the soul. Okay, I think it's a part of the harvesting. I think it's a part of the Lush suffering, death, and rebirth cycles. And it's a part of the Templar seal as well, is what I think. And I think it's a way that they're continuing to harvest the soul. Okay, and it's done through this beautiful ceremony that nobody would think twice about. Okay, so I think this is very much a part of potential hijacking of the swan grid template, that the Dracos would be very much aware of it. They would be very much aware of it because it is a higher emanation of them. This is a version of them that exists beyond the monadic structures of the seraphim. And so because of that, they want to, you know, try to limit the expansion of their own kind, essentially. The swan is very much expansion of the reptilian bloodline, in the sense that the swan's neck is very much a serpent neck. Okay, the swan is a transdimensional version of the Hydra systems, of the serpent systems, of the primordial serpent systems. It is going from the belly to belly frequency of the serpent, belly to ground with the earth, into that expanded state of the swan, which is the expression of the freedom of the soul. And so, yeah, I just want to thank you guys so much for bringing that up to me, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to look at that. And so that's really, really important. and I think is very much a part of the Swan Grid templating. But to keep expanding off of all of this, is that what's going on right now, aside from the Swan Grid templating, as you guys know, it's a process of cycles of waves of light, of getting us to that prophecy, right? Of getting us to the new age, the golden age, and the future organic technologies that will aid and assist humanity into our highest state of spiritual existence here. But through that, the real transformation has to happen in the core planetary wounding. That is reflective through the mental body of the narcissistic template that has to completely dissolve. That is what came from Maldek. Okay. And so because of that, we have to look at all of the reasons of defining and understanding what a narcissist truly is, to identify those factions of negative agendas, even within our own bloodline, even within our own family inheritance, our genetics, and the extensions of these beings that exist here on this earthly plane. And so I'm going to dive into that maybe in another video. I'm going to kind of skip through some of this part of the narcissistic templating. I would like to define more of it, but I just feel like I'm kind of running on time because, again, like I said, I have to go get my kiddos from volleyball soon, and I wanted to at least get this energy update out for you guys because there's so much with all of this that's clearing. And it's also really important for empaths, though, especially unhealed empaths. Okay, it's one thing to be empathic and be wholly full and soul embodied, but it's another thing to be an unhealed empath, which is where you have absolutely no boundaries and you're just allowing these narcissistic tentacles to really take you down or take you over, because the narcissists, they play a lot of mind trick games. Okay, there's a lot of illusion, there's a lot of deception. Okay, there's a lot of ways to define it and understand and see what they are and where they're coming from. But essentially, the empath always feels like they're drawn into their pain, they're drawn into their suffering, and they feel like it's something that they can empathize with, and they want to heal it, they want to fix it, they want to have compassion and understanding. But they have to realize that what they perceive as this pain and suffering that these beings hold, it's not really from that. It's from lack of emotions. And in a lot of cases, it's from unconsciousness itself. It's from service to self, okay? It is from a deep disconnection from their mother, okay? Because they're in the mental body of Maldek, essentially. And so they're holding resentment towards the earth, okay? Some of them are so disconnected that there's a lot of space in between that. But essentially, this mental body was birthed originally from war planets, okay? So the empath comes in and it's trying to fill that void of unconsciousness. It's trying to fill that void of lack and separation, but it's absolutely impossible because it is a lack that is separated by planetary core wounds, and it's a separation of worlds. Okay, so when you're going head to head with these digressive reptilian lines, this will cause injury to your self-esteem. So empaths, especially unhealed empaths, okay, you do not want to engage if you can identify this. Okay, allow these global upgrades that are dismantling these templates from within the organic system, from these waves of light, to do this work and to heal this global narcissistic templating that's seated in the time of Atlantis, that came through these fragmentations and through the forced breeding and hybridization traumas. Okay? If you come across this, let me tell you, you will not win up against these forces. empaths have to understand that they will damage you and leave narcissistic scars and wounds. You will have to walk away from these types, okay? Coming into the realization that you're facing someone who's carrying narcissistic behavior patterns, that is a clear indicator that they are existing from a reptilian bloodline, okay? They will damage you. You cannot help them, you cannot fix them, you cannot change them, and they will to your field because they are a part of the parasite. Okay, this is a part of the parasite. And it is a hybrid etheric squid with suction cup tentacles that go into your heart womb, into your sacral womb. Okay, and they anchor here. It doesn't take much, but they will leach into your field and pull on your emotional magnetism and feed off of you here. So all of this narcissistic templating is parasitic, and it is through the negative alien factions, okay? It is through the fallen angelic Anunnaki hybrids. It's through the sons of Belial, Thoth, Metatron, Enki, and Lil, Cain collectives, okay? Yahweh collectives. It's through the Black Sun program. It's through the Alpha, Draconis, and Orion groups. Okay, Greys, Zetas, and insectoid collectives. We forget about the insectoids, okay? The insectoids are here doing all kinds of crazy stuff. These are all of the types that are experienced in mind control. And mind control comes from the narcissistic templating from the Maldek implosion. So they know whoever controls the mind controls the masses. And everybody is under a narcissistic control. So I really, really want to get into how we continue to understand the corruption of Atlantis and also work through those planetary seedings in a more detailed level, because like I said, I was kind of rambling in my last update and I feel like I didn't piece it together in a state of flow. If you guys want to read about this, you can go to my website, IndigoAngel222.com. I did just send out an email newsletter, and I will be posting up a new blog probably this afternoon. And so you guys can go read about more about what I wrote, because there's so much that happened in each one of these seedings. I was even seeing how a lot of these descendants were of the Celtic and Druid bloodlines, and that the Vikings were a lot of these actual Mer priest kings as well. I have it written in some of my notes here that I was going to talk about that as well. Well, I am going to talk about it. I just can't find it in my notes because I wrote so much. But yeah, a lot of these Celtic and Druid and Viking lines are also some of the pure descendants from Atlantis. And there was a lot of that goes into that as well from the third cataclysm. So I think it's really important to understand that the invasion of the narcissistic templating also went into some of these Celtic and Druid and Viking lines as well. And a lot of that came down through those lines and lineages. Not saying there wasn't a time that there was purity that was there as well. Okay, but I think this was other ways that they infiltrated and pushed forward the Templar Anunnaki facets, which is the majority of the collective to this day that are holding the seals, unless you've had seal removal and you've consciously worked to remove those. You're going to be carrying those distortions to this day. You're going to be carrying crucifixion and persecution codes to this day. You're going to be carrying even templating to what happened in World War II. Okay, through concentration camps, you'll be carrying etheric yellow badges in your field that mark you and tag you to continue to be astrally hit as a targeted individual. There's so much that goes into this. But I wanted to get this part of the update out for this gateway, you guys. So I hope everyone is getting through these really super intense energies. I know a lot is coming up to recycle through as we work through more that has to be cleared, more that has to be integrated, more that has to be healed. And just know that I love you guys so much. You guys are amazing. And I'm going to maybe try to film later this afternoon and get some more of these, more of this timeline of the Atlantis and how the narcissistic templating, how the cataclysms actually happened. And then I said, like, also go into some of the why the organic caves and crystal caverns are really, really important at this time. And as a grid worker and as a gatekeeper, tuning into places like the Ice Palace in Chihuahua, Mexico, that we can actually go into these cavern generators to access the data memory storage for the planetary logos, the planetary neurological systems, and the planetary brain. It's where we can actually encode purity codes here and assist the Earth plane with clearing out these traumas, wounds, wormholes, hybridization, scars, and detrimental, degrading inserts into humanity's consciousness. And so, yeah, guys, I'll be back a little bit later. I hope everyone has a beautiful everything on this gateway, and take care. I'll see you guys on the next update.